The strongest people aren't those who show their strength in front of us, but those whose battles we know nothing about. And God can and will give you the strength to keep going within the ferocity and difficulty of your own battles, as he calls you to maintain both your faith and integrity while responding to him by placing your hope and trust in the declarations and promises that he makes over your lives. As every second you spend wishing God would take away the struggle is indeed a forfeited opportunity to overcome. Welcome to this week's Hope from the Hills. The Bible says this: "It is God who arms me with strength and keeps my way secure." That's Psalm 18 and verse 32. And when it comes to the fight, there isn't a power on earth or heaven that can prevail victoriously against God. For it is he who controls the battles we faced, and whilst he won't always immediately take away the dangers, he does promise to both fight for us as well as be with us. His strength, might and power are on the side of those who draw their courage and toughness from the truth of who he is and the unshakable declarations of the promises he makes over their lives. Just as Joshua was told by God to be both strong and courageous, God's commendation was accompanied by a promise, "I will be with you." And that same promise stands today for each and every one of us facing our personal struggles, difficulties, or even our Jerichos. Be still, be calm, I'll fight for you. That's the promise of Exodus chapter 14 and verse 14. Rather than our solitary focus being centered on the size of the problem, our limited resources, or the boundaries and borders of our own strength, we should be a people whose vision has been corrected and refocused upon the size, majesty and magnitude of the God without limitation, whose desires for our strength in us is characterized by an increased ability to trust him and his promises, nullifying the notion that it has anything to do at all with us finding our own strength within ourselves. In short, if we simply find strength in ourselves and our own abilities, it's not strength at all, because it's based entirely upon trusting in ourselves and not trusting upon God. God has to be the source of our strength, and the only way to access this strength is to surrender in total dependence upon him. Paul says this to the Philippians in chapter 4 and verse 13, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And when we allow God to be the source and supply, he will impart his strength in us, changing our thinking and elevating our faith. As created beings, God knows and understands our weaknesses. He knows that apart from him we can do nothing, and yet the beauty and wonder of the gospel message that he brings to us is mercy, grace and hope, but it also serves as a promise guarantee that we now need never live apart from him. Through the death and resurrection of Jesus, we are now united and one with him, wrapped up in his story of redemption. All of us have access to salvation's story that negates anything of us having to do anything by navigating this life on our own or in our own strength. "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed. I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That's Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 10. His grace is sufficient for you, and his power and his strength is made perfect in your weakness. The promise of the Father is that his strength is available to us today. He will provide for every circumstance, challenge and situation that we face. And where we're tempted to try to find strength to face the day outside of God's plan and provision, then don't. It's him and him alone that strengthens you. He fortifies your heart and soul and provides himself strong over and over again, not in spite of our weaknesses, but because of them. His constant, his promise and his assurance to us is that in him we can be renewed, restored and redeemed. Strength then has very little to do with physical prowess, but everything to do with whatever you carry, whatever you do and whatever it is that you are. Because it is those things that altogether make you. And the strength you carry, steward and avail yourself of, should always be rooted and sourced and drawn from him. I'll see you next time.